Hi, everyone. It's the top of the hour. Let's go ahead and get started. So, welcome to the Advanced Human Services and Social Work Library Research webinar. My name is Amanda Solomon, and I'm the Human Services and Social Work Librarian here at Walden University Library. Really appreciate your attendance today. Thank you for spending an hour of your afternoon with me. We have a very low attendee rate or turnout today, so let's be informal. If you have a question, feel free to ask your question in the chat box, and I'll make sure I'll try to answer it in a timely fashion. So I just want this to be kind of an informal learning experience for us, and hopefully you'll leave this webinar feeling a little bit more confident doing some advanced research, searching in the database, and gaining those advanced research skills. So let's talk about what we're going to cover. But first, a little bit of housekeeping. So you should have a pod that you can get to your chat box. I do have a PowerPoint. I don't follow it to a T, but I do want you to have it to go back to. So you have the opportunity to download the PowerPoint if you want. I do have some links in there that you might find handy. Closed captioning is available, and I do have that link in the chat box for all of you. And you're feel free to ask questions. We already talked about that. And then lastly, you will get a recording of the webinar via your email that you're going to get, I think, tomorrow. It's a follow-up email, and so that you will have the recording if you want to come back and watch it again. All right, so today we're going to go over your research guides, which are nifty kind of one-stop shopping places where I've added a lot of research essentials for human services and social work. You're probably already choosing and using databases at this point, but we'll look at some advanced features within databases, some time savers, article alerts, and things like that. Keyword searching is always evolving. It takes a lot of practice. So we'll just talk about keyword searching for a little bit, and then how to set up journal alerts in the databases and in Google Scholar. And then looking at dissertations is always a good way to practice advanced library research. And so I want to make sure you guys know how to find dissertations in different ways in different databases. Lastly, where to get more help. So this is a chart for your Boolean operators. I'm going to go over this in my demonstration, but I just wanted you to have the chart to come back to later. It's a really good visual of the and the or and the not concept. So take a look at that later. When you're doing advanced research, most of my students are doing that for their literature review. And that is just basically you're going to survey current literature. So with current, we're going back maybe the past 5 years. And you're looking for the evidence of the gap in the literature and justification for why your study, why your research is important. And a lot of my students really struggle with this. They have a personal life. We all have personal lives, families, we work, we have these daily experiences, and sometimes we want to write about that because, say for instance, we work as school counselors and we want to write about school counseling and a certain type of care, or you have a particular research interest in mind because you live that on a daily basis and you're interested in it. But that is not how the lit review or the research process works. You are actually going to have to survey the literature on your broad, research interests and see what are the current scholars saying about your topic, and then finding the gap. So the gap is something that says further research. So you may find an article within your realm of your research interest and it's calling for further research. That's your gap. That's where you can step in and say, that's me. I'm going to provide that further research. So that's your justification. That's really the goal of the lit review and looking for articles and doing advanced research. And so I do have some links, hot links here in the PowerPoint. I have another webinar called Finding a Gap. My wonderful colleague Meg Testerman recorded that before she left for Princeton. I do recommend going in. It's a little bit more detailed. It's just as really looking at finding the gap and the justification for your research. And then we also have a lengthy guide on the Capstone Lit Review in the library. So make sure you look at those after the webinar. All right, and we'll get to where to get help later. So I'm going to get out of my PowerPoint if I can. There we go. Hope everybody can see my screen and hear me. I will try to look at my chat box. And don't forget to ask a question. All right, let's get started. This is the library's homepage, so hopefully you are well-versed in searching the library's website and familiar with some of your databases and your course guides and all this, but you may not be familiar with your own particular research pages. And that's a good thing to bookmark and come back to. So if you're in human services, you're going to want to go to select a subject and hit human services. And so this would be your research guide that you would want to bookmark. And the reason I ask you to bookmark it is because it's really good to come back to the main search box here. So this is searching hundreds and hundreds of hand-selected journals within the human services field that I chose. So you can put any of your keywords here and do a search like that. This is a better start than Thoreau, which you're probably used to searching. So a lot of you guys are probably going here to that main search box, and that's good, but that's a beginner search. I want you guys with advanced research, you want to go into your subject-specific databases. So you really want to look at your human services or social work databases and move away from Thoreau. The other thing I like about your research guide is that you have human services databases. So I have a list of your best bets here. And I also have links to some journals within human services and sociology, and then more specific, like women's studies, feminism journals, and so on. But if you're looking to, get familiar with journals, journal titles, places that you might want to publish in the future, or just browsing literature within a particular journal, you can hit these links and kind of browse through those. And then lots of other stuff like basic research help, a guide on the Lit Review, theories, stats and data, upcoming webinars, things like that. So I have one for human services, and then I also have a page for my social work students, and they do differ a little bit. So they're not the same. So depending on what program you're in, make sure you do that. And those are your research pages. The other thing, let's go into a database. So depending on what program you're in, you're probably familiar with SociIndex with full text, because this is the most comprehensive and highest quality research database within sociology. So it's going to cover human services material, social work, criminal justice, gender studies, family studies. It is the best bet, the go-to database for my human services and social work students. So I hope you're using it. I hope you're familiar with it. Let's do a demo really quick, just in case. Let's go to SociIndex with full text. It is a best bet. If I'm going too fast or anything, you guys speak up. You have to sign in, which I've never signed in. Okay, sign in. There we go. So hopefully you're familiar with your 3 search boxes and your EBSCO vendor, databases here. For advanced research skills, I like to show my students that you don't have to just stay in one database. You can actually search several at a time. So up here where it says SociIndex with full text, it says choose databases. You can click on that. And here you get a list of other EBSCO vendor databases that you can pick and choose how many you want to search at one time. Now, I have a lot of students that get overzealous and they select all. You don't want to do that because, if your topic is not really business related, you don't want to search within a business database because you're just going to get non-relevant results that are going to frustrate you and be not helpful. So you only want to stick to some databases within your field, your discipline, or within your research interest. So my particular research interest is veterans with PTSD. So I'm thinking I need to look at social work databases and maybe some psychology databases. So I'm going to click on social work abstracts. For my social work students, this is published by the NASW, National Association of Social Workers, and it has a lot of peer-reviewed journal articles. It's a really great database. We just got it. I really advocated for it for you guys. So click on social work abstracts, and then let's click on PsycInfo, which is the premier and most comprehensive psychology database. But I think I'm going to need it for my research interest because I'm incorporating PTSD. And so I think PsycInfo would be helpful for me. And I'm going to stop there. If I'm not finding a lot on my subject, I might come back and hit psych articles. But a lot of this is just getting a more familiarity with the databases. And you'll do that with practice. So now I'm searching more than one database. And let's talk about keyword searching for a minute. Keyword searching is always a work in progress. And the biggest thing I can tell my students is to start broad. Even though you might have a very specific topic, you've got to start broad because you don't want to limit yourself in the beginning. So I may actually be looking at veterans with PTSD and substance abuse disorders or something like that. But I still want to start my search very broad. I don't want to limit myself right now. And a lot of students get very frustrated when they do a keyword search and they don't get any results. Well, if that's happening to you, take a step back and broaden your search terms. Go as broad as you possibly can go. Believe me, it will work for you. And then you'll be able to narrow down later. So start with the main concepts of your research interest. And that's all I do on this page. I really don't worry about this stuff down here because I'm going to get to that in a minute. So I'm just going to hit search. Okay, so before you do anything, before you start looking at your results and going, oh no, I have 7,000 results, the first thing you want to do right away, just very naturally, get used to doing it, is you want to refine your results on the left-hand side in the blue shady area. So the first couple things that I would want to do for my advanced researchers is number one, click your peer-reviewed scholarly journal box. That way we're going to get the scholarly peer-reviewed material that we need for our lit review, and we don't have to worry about it. Secondly, let's change that publication date. Remember, we were looking at current literature, so I don't want literature from 1981. So I'm going to change that to 2000. What do you say, guys? How about 13? And then hit enter. It should automatically update your results. Perfect, perfect. And then lastly, I'm going to uncheck the full text box. And I'm sure you're like, uh-oh, why would she do that? Because I want the full text of my article. Well, don't worry. Even if we do not have access to the full text at Walden, we will try to get it from you. We will borrow it from another library, and you will get a digital copy of that article free of charge. So the point of the lit review is exhausting the literature and making sure that you get all the literature on your topic. So if you hit full text, you might be missing out on something. So when you're doing advanced research for your lit review, you want to uncheck full text, check peer reviewed, and change your publication dates to within 5 years. All right. I'm just going to actually do something quick right now. I'm going to uncheck a couple of my databases. I just wanted you to get the idea that you can add extra databases if you need to. Now I have to go back and do my search. That's okay. No worries. I can go fast. So once you do get a good search and a good list of results, there's a few things that you can do that I feel like are advanced research skills. First, I want you to start browsing your subjects. So instead of just looking at the title and kind of quickly browsing, look what's underneath the title. These are your subjects. So these are the database subject headings. These subjects are what the database is saying. This article is mostly about this. It's about PTSD, aggression, interpersonal relations, social skills, and the psychology of veterans, and then on down and on down. But the point is that reading and becoming familiar with subject terms gives you ideas for additional keyword searches, additional subject searches, and ideas maybe that are going to lead you down a different path of research. So, for instance, I'm just reading, going through the results, and I get to this one, number 5, prisoners, pups, and PTSD, and I think, what is this about? Well, under the subjects, it says animal-assisted therapy. So, that's something I had really not thought about, but it's piqued my interest. So now I might think about adding animal-assisted therapy or pet therapy in my third search box because I want to narrow down and look at something like that because I'm a huge dog lover and that's really interesting. So reading the subjects just gives you ideas. You may go down a different path of research or you may just get additional ideas for keywords, but it's a good skill to learn. I'm actually really old school. I get a piece of paper and a pen and actually write them down because I'm still the pen and paper person sometimes. I'll admit it. But it is a good idea to start learning how to do that. And the other thing you can do besides just browsing is on the left-hand side under Subject in the blue shady area, you can click Show More. And this is basically showing you all the main subjects that these articles are about. So I can go through here and check on the ones that I'm mostly interested in. So perhaps I'm not interested in Iraq war veterans, so I might not check that. And then I'll just check on PTSD, military service, and all the ones that I'm more interested in. So that's a way to update your results to target the ones that you're super interested in. And again, to browse those subject terms that we're looking at. There's other things that you can do on the left-hand side as well. All right, so let's go into that article that was kind of interesting to me and see what we can do. So once you do get an article that you're interested in, you're used to going to the full text. Here's your PDF. You're looking at your subject terms. You're reading your abstracts. You're printing it. You're saving it. You're organizing it, which are all advanced skills. And EBSCO databases allow you to do a few cool things as far as citing that article by hitting Cite and copying and pasting your APA. And that's good, but you do need to look at that before you turn it in to your professor because sometimes there's grammatical errors that you would want to fix. But if you're happy with your search terms and you feel like you've gotten good results, you can actually set up an alert. Let's just go back to our results really quick. So say, for instance, you like all 449 of these results. And believe me, that is not a high number. I actually like having about 5 pages of results. I don't think that's a lot to browse. Now, of course, you may want to narrow that down with another keyword. But if you feel like you have a good search, you're happy with the results, you want to come back and read them later, you can do a couple of things. You can hit this little share button on the right-hand side, and you can copy the permalink, also called the persistent link. And you can copy that link and put it into a Word document, put it into your Zotero, put it in an email to yourself, just as a way to get back to this search. And once you do use the persistent link, it'll take you back to this entire page. So it'll show you the database, the limiters, all 449 results, and with your full text. So it's a good way to save your research and to remember what keywords you used and what you did. The other thing you can do, if you're so inclined, is you can set up an alert. So what that means is I would hit click email alert, and I would ask EBSCO, so C-index, every time that any article gets put in the database, matching my limiters and matching my keywords, that I will get an email either once a day, once a week, or biweekly. If you do set up an alert, don't do it once a day or once a week, maybe biweekly, just so you don't get too many emails coming from EBSCO. I'm sure you guys get plenty enough emails as it is, so maybe just biweekly. Now, to get an email alert, and I do really believe in email alerts, I think it's a great time saver because you guys don't have all the time to see if there's new literature coming in on your topic. Let the databases do the work for you. But to do that, make sure that you have an account with EBSCO. So up here where it says sign in, create an account. And this is separate from the library account. This is, this is your own personal thing. It has nothing to do with the library. It's yours and yours alone. So you would create create an account, and then you would have an account with EBSCO. And there's good reason to do that if you use a lot of EBSCO databases. So and mostly my human services and social work students will use a lot of EBSCO databases. And when I say EBSCO, I'm talking about the SOCIindex, PsycInfo, social work abstracts, those really rich sociology journals databases. So creating your own account in EBSCO allows you to organize folders, to drop, say you want this article, you would click this little plus folder and it would just drop it right into your saved folder within EBSCO. You can share folders. You can send a folder of articles to your faculty member, or, there's neat little things that you can do. And I like that it's kind of a backup. It's in EBSCO's cloud and not just, on my computer. So there's a lot of benefits to creating an account. The one thing that you have to remember is every time you do research and you go back into the library, you need to sign in to your EBSCO account. So you make sure you're signed in. And but if you think that you can handle that, it's a good idea to create the account, start organizing your articles within your folders, and setting up the journal alerts. So when the database gets an article matching your criteria, and I'm talking all of your limiters, peer review, date, everything, you will get an email. And that's a big, big time saver for my dissertation students. All right. Feel free to ask a question too. If there's not any questions, I'm going to move forward. All right. Let's get out of the databases. And let's do a quick Google Scholar demo, just because I want my dissertation students to use Google Scholar, which I have bookmarked here. And I want you to use it smart. And there's a couple things that you need to know about it if you're going to use Google Scholar. One, I recommend using the databases first. Really get familiar with your databases, particularly SOCIindex and social work abstracts and PsycInfo, because that's going to be the most helpful for you through this process. Now, I like to say then use Google Scholar in conjunction with the databases to exhaust the literature. And just sometimes there'll be overlap. Sometimes Google Scholar will have something that we don't, and then vice versa. So you definitely are going to want to link Walden Library to Google Scholar. If you haven't done that already, you want to hit the three little lines and hit Settings. And then you want to hit Library Link. And you want to type in Walden University Library and then link it and hit Save. Mine's already linked, and that's why it's checkmarked there. Now, don't worry about where it says Open WorldCat. That just stands for World Catalog, and it's basically just going to show you local libraries or near you that have maybe something that you need. So don't worry. I just leave it checked. So hit Save. So now that you're linked up, and if you forget how to do this, we have instructions on our quick answers, and I'll go over quick answers at the end of the webinar. Hit Save. So let's just do a broad search. You know how I feel about broad searching. And the first thing, remember, when we get a list of results, we don't start browsing, we do our limiters. So we're going to limit to, we'll just do since 2014. Google Scholar makes it easy to do that on the left-hand side. And what I wanted to show you with Google Scholar is that you can also create an alert here. So if I had a good search, which I would probably try to do a better search than that, or just a very, very, like maybe equine assisted therapy. That's pretty specific. So horses and vets and PTSD. You can create an alert just like we did in the database. So you would hit create an alert right here on the left-hand side and basically do the same thing. You add your email, create an alert. Let's see. I don't know if they allow you to, I guess you just get an alert whenever. But again, why should you go back into the databases in Google Scholar and do so many searches? Let the database work for you and with you. So set up your alerts. Now, when you find an article that says Find at Walden, do you have any problem finding it? When you see the Find at Walden button, this is just called a linker. It's just supposed to link you to the article. A lot of students get a bit confused when they see it because they don't know what it means exactly or how to use it. Now, when you're in Google Scholar, if it says Find at Walden, just click on it. Hope this works. And so it takes you to another page. You're just kind of following a path. That's all it is. The Find at Walden button is a path to your full text article. So all this page, and a lot of students get confused when they get here because it's like, what are they trying to tell me? Well, all this is trying to say is we think that we have found the full text of your article, and it's in, one of these databases. It's in all of these databases. So just pick the one that you like. And I'm not familiar with some of these, but I usually just click the first one. So I'll click on that. Oh, chugging water. I've been thirsty all day. A little tickle in my throat too. All right, it's a little slow on my end. Sorry about that. But the Find at Walden button is a linker, so don't be afraid of it. Click on it, follow the path. You should eventually get to your article. Mine is loading like embarrassingly slow, but it should get you there. Now, if it doesn't, you need to let us know. You need to email us. Oh, I don't know what they're saying. They're saying that didn't work, but it could be because I timed out. But don't be afraid of the Find at Walden button. Make sure that you use it. If it doesn't work for you, you need to email us and let us know because it's probably a broken link or something that we need to fix. So make sure that you let us know about the Find at Walden button. I'm going to get out of Google Scholar. I want to talk one more thing about keyword searching that I kind of skipped over, and I feel like it's important that I mention it for my advanced students. Advanced researching really involves using your Boolean connectors. Remember that chart that I had in the PowerPoint that I showed you? Go back and look at that chart. It's a really good visual about the and the or and the not. And what I mean by that is, let's say we're doing, maybe I'm doing veterans again, but I'm not picking up enough. So I want to put in related concepts or synonyms. Use your OR connector. I don't believe you have to capitalize it, but I do because I like seeing the visual. So I would do a capital OR. Something like that. So when you think of the OR connector, you're thinking of related synonyms, and you're telling the database, I don't care if you give me an article on veterans or combat veterans or even the military. I'll take any of those three. That's what you're telling the database. But you definitely want either the the acronym PTSD, or it's spelled out. And that's what your and does. So you're connecting the and with the and you're expanding with the or. Another example that's good to look at, say you're just looking at senior citizens or elderly people. You can do a search for elderly or connector, aged, or senior. The other thing I've seen my students do, they might be just studying children. So you might do child or youth, something like that. So start practicing with your OR connector. Believe me, it is a game changer as far as advanced research skills. And I use it in almost all of my searches. So this is an advanced research skill, and that's Boolean connectors, your and your ors. Now, a lot of students say, well, what about the not? I never hear much about the not. Well, that's because we don't use it much. The not will completely exclude something. So if I put veterans and PTSD, but I did not want to see substance abuse, I might hit not substance abuse because I don't want to study substance abuse. I'm looking at pet therapy or something. So I don't use the not a lot. In fact, I never do. If you feel like you get the same results over and over on something that you do not want to study, perhaps you're looking at elderly people in hospice care, but not with Alzheimer's, you might want to use the not, but otherwise I don't. The main thing I want you to practice is your OR connector and put in related synonyms. Okay, I just wanted to make sure I went back to that because I want you guys to know that and start practicing it. Okay, if there aren't any questions or chats, I'm going to move on to dissertations. Looking at other dissertations is a great way to advance your research skills. See what some other students have done, whether it's on your topic or just within your department or within your program. And the way you do that is from the library's homepage. You just want to click on dissertations. And we have two major dissertation databases. The first one is dissertations at Walden. So this would just be only dissertations from Walden students. The second one is all, and that's ProQuest dissertations. And this is coming from institutions and universities from all over the United States and the world. So this is like huge database, and this is just Walden. Now, before I do a demonstration in one of those, let me scroll down to this link, Walden Award-winning dissertations. And the reason I just want to show you this is because if you're starting to write your dissertation, take some time to look at some of these award-winning dissertations and doctoral studies. If you're like me, you're curious as to, well, what made them so outstanding? Because I want mine to be outstanding. So I want to know what their lit review looks like. How did they synthesize their lit review? And how did they word, their research process? So going in there and looking at that, those award-winning dissertations is helpful, I think. I've even printed one and just printed the lit review just to kind of get an idea. So I do recommend that. All right, how do I get back? Oh, hit the back button. So let's go into Walden dissertations and see if we can find something. So say, for instance, you just want to look at some PhD dissertations on your topic. So maybe our topic is teacher evaluation. Type it in, and then let's do PhD, and let's change that second anywhere box to degree. There we go, PhD degree, and hit search. Oh, it didn't turn up anything. Hold on. I don't know why I put teacher evaluation. Should have stuck with my main topic, veterans and PTSD. It doesn't like that either. I must be doing something wrong. Don't mind me and my terrible mistakes. Let's just do without the degree. Maybe it doesn't like that today. Believe me, it works. I've done it a million times, but today it doesn't like it. So let's hit search. Yay! Finally, something worked. I got results. So that's one way to find dissertations. It's just type in your keywords. Don't worry about the degree thing. That should work, but it didn't. Browse through some of these results. Look at their lit reviews. See what they're doing. Perhaps you want to look at some dissertations that have been chaired by your chair and to see, look at some of those. You can do that as well. So instead of veterans and PTHD, we might just want to say find a chair. So maybe our chair is Sandra Harris, last name first, first name last, and then change anywhere to advisor. You can also look up an advisor if you don't know how to spell their name correctly or you forget. You can get a list that you can look up an advisor. So you would just choose whoever the advisor is. And then hit search. So now I have a list of 11 results that have been chaired by Dr. Harris. So that's another way to browse dissertations. We have some more information on that I'll show you at the end, but it's a smart thing to do. And remember how we can save search alerts. You can do that in ProQuest too. So you would want to create an account in ProQuest and hit save. If you're not going to use this a lot, I wouldn't. I would just browse my dissertations and move on, but because you're going to be doing more research in EBSCO databases. But I do want you to look at dissertations and find dissertations on your topic. All right. So before we go into where to get help, I want to recap everything that we've done. So we started on the library's homepage, and we kind of moved away from Thoreau because I want my advanced researchers to use the subject-specific databases within your field, whether that's human services or whether that's social work. So we went into our research guides. Now, let me tell you right here, a lot of my human services and social work students, their topics really are multidisciplinary. So, for instance, I might have a human services student that is studying um, education administration or something like that. So you might want to browse an education database. So don't limit yourself to just looking at your own databases. If your topic involves another aspect, go into an education database. See what is out there in education. So if you have an education slant, I would recommend going to Education Source. It's the best bet for education. Perhaps you are, I think the other day I had a social work student who was her main focus. She was doing a research study on female inmates. So I asked her to go into criminal justice databases because her topic, she wasn't getting everything she needed from the social work databases. She needed to look at some, prison information, some criminal justice information, female inmates. So we went to criminal justice database, which is a best bet for criminal justice. So play around, become familiar with other databases. Don't just stick to one. And I know that my beginning students have stuck with Thoreau, but now we are branching out to our subject-specific databases. So get familiar with them. If you're feeling particularly savvy, go into our databases A to Z and just kind of browse the databases that we have. Every time I do this, I get more and more surprised. I'm like, we have that? I didn't know we had that. And play around. I mean, the very first thing here is AARP State Data Center for reports on Medicare and long-term for senior citizens, caregivers. I mean, that's an awesome database if you're studying senior citizens. So there's so much in here, so much. The Annie Casey Foundation is amazing for data and statistics on children and families. And when you guys are doing this, exploratory research, becoming more familiar with the databases, becoming more familiar with dissertations and journals and library research in general, you're going to want to get more help. So we looked at going into the databases, we looked at keyword searching, and we looked at creating an account in EBSCO, which is sign in here, where you would sign in to create your account. So you could save folders and set up journal alerts. We did the same thing in Google Scholar. And then we looked at how to find dissertations. So we've just gone through this really fast. So what if after this webinar you can't remember, we forgot something that we went over? Well, first of all, you can always contact me. I am your personal librarian, and I'm always happy to help my students. But sometimes you just don't really need me. You just need kind of a quick answer or a run through of some tutorial or instruction. So if you need a little bit of help, there's lots of different ways. On the library's website, you can go to Start Your Research. Oops, sorry. That's a great place to start your research, but we're actually getting help. So go to Get Help. Perfect. All right. So one thing that you can do to get help is use our quick answers. And let me tell you, I use it every day. It is the hidden jewel of the library. Quick Answers is created and maintained by my fabulous colleague, Lynn. And Lynn gives great instruction on simple basic library skills and advanced skills. And I love how she gives great instruction that's really easy to follow. So say, for instance, something we didn't talk about today was how to verify if an article is peer reviewed. Say you just don't know about that. You could actually type it in and ask Quick Answers. We should just call it Lynn because she's the best. And Lynn will tell you the steps that you have to do to verify if your article is peer reviewed using Ulrich's database. She gives you visuals and numbered steps. You can't beat Quick Answers for instruction. I seriously use them all the time. What about finding dissertations? I forgot how to find dissertations. Let's just say, for example, so how do I find dissertations? Walden PhD. Maybe I was doing something wrong. Okay, yeah, it didn't like my period right there or my quotation. So there's teacher evaluation and PhD. So detailed instructions, visuals, Quick Answers is the best. And I am not joking when I say I use it all the time, because I really do. It helps me on the reference desk when I'm helping students. The other thing that you can do is watch not old, but recorded webinars. So like this one, you could hit on recorded webinar. And perhaps you're not really advanced searching yet. You still need to brush up on just basic library skills. We have tons and tons on library skills. So you go in here and just decide what you wanted to watch, whether that's on Google Scholar. Look, search alerts, we touched on that, but this is a more detailed webinar on search alerts. You might want to look at that. We have a webinar on citation management software like Zotero. That's interesting. And then, what is wrong with my computer? It's going slow. So lots of different webinars for you to watch, depending on what your topic is. We even have a really good one on, like I was saying earlier, the literature review. So if you clicked on Lit Review, this one right here, how to find a gap in the literature, I really recommend it. It's my colleague Meg conducted this last year or in May. She's really easy to listen to, and she's so good at explaining how to find the gap. So I watch this from time to time just to get a brush up on how to express to my students how important it is to find the gap. And she also has a 5-step strategy. So I really do recommend this. And there's some other in the series, Library Tips, Exhausting the Literature. So if you have some time on your hands, come back and watch some of these webinar recordings. for additional assistance. And then you can also contact us via Ask a Librarian. So as you know, we have a virtual reference desk, and you can email us by clicking on email. And typically we respond within 24 hours. I mean, honestly, it's like within 2 hours, but depending if you write in on like when we're off work or it's a holiday weekend or something like that, but you'll usually get a pretty prompt response. You can also chat like a real live person, which is popular. So you can hit chat and see if our chat hours are open. It's usually about 4 hours a day in the morning and in the evening. And so this is good for a really quick question, not lit review questions, because lit review questions can get complex and detailed, as you know. But definitely good for a quick chat if you forget something or just need something quick. You can phone us, but be aware that you actually will get a voicemail and you will leave a message and you'll get a response via email. But some people just feel better about expressing their question on the phone than they do an email, and I can understand that. And then lastly, we have doctoral research appointments. I highly recommend if you're in your dissertation phase that you meet with me or another librarian for a one-on-one session. So this can be delivered via Skype, which is kind of cool because we can share screens, or telephone, which I do. Most of my appointments are telephone. Students really feel comfortable talking on the phone. And then, or you could just say, hey, I just want to email. Just send me some instruction via email, and that's fine too. So depending on what program or college you were in, you would click that, and then you would click social work, human services, and so you would get, there's me, Amanda Solomon, and then you would get some of my availability and click on the available times that I have. And that gets added a lot every week. So check my availability. Now, if I don't have something available, shoot me an email and we'll work something out, because no matter what, you're going to get the help you need. I'm going to help you. Even if I don't have an available time slot, we will figure something out where I'll be able to meet with you at a convenient time for you. So keep in mind, and that's a really good service for the lit review. If you're really having trouble finding literature, if you need extra assistance with a database, your keyword search terms, and your strategy, we will definitely go over that in a doctoral research appointment. Okay. Whew. I feel like I have been talking nonstop into a screen for about 50 minutes. So I'm going to stop here. If there's any questions, go ahead and ask now. Happy to answer whatever questions you have. And if not, I'm just going to say have a good afternoon and thank you for attending the Human Services and Social Work Advanced Library Research, and good luck with your research. Bye.